It's the Joe Show. It's Thoughtful Thursday here on the Joe Show, and you know what that means? It's time to read an article that makes us think and reflect on our past and our present and the future. And that's why today's article, I think, is really important and is really going to make us think. It's entitled, "Why Did the Pharaoh Masturbate into the River?" Okay, so I know what you're thinking, because you're thoughtful. Did the Pharaoh even masturbate in the river? The answer to that is, I don't know, but this title of this article sounds like a riddle. Why did the Pharaoh masturbate into the river? To get to the other side, clearly. I think that's how you get across a river, right? You masturbate into it. And why it never comes up in the history books. This is also important. Why doesn't it come up in the history books? I didn't even realize that it needed to be in the history books. I didn't even realize that the pharaohs were jerking off into the sea. And why the pharaohs were fetishizing their... Oh man, I don't know a body of water that starts with an F. Fluse. I think that's river in German. Why the pharaohs were fetishizing the Fluse. The Nile shaped the worldview of the Egyptians. It was a river that blessed its people with a source of food, water, and transportation. It's also a state of being for many people who call themselves Republicans. Shout out to Republicans in denial. Egyptians were dependent on it as a source of moisture and nutrients for crops since rainfall was almost non-existent in the area. Don't know if we should really be mentioning Egyptians counting on it for a source of moisture. If we're talking about jerking off into a river, but maybe that's why they really like this river. It's so moist. You ever take a dip in a river? Oh, it's so moist. Gets you just so horny. In good times, the Nile brought wealth and prosperity, but in drought, it brought famine and death. Given this fact, ancient Egyptians did everything to prevent the river from drying up. Sounds like, a lot of girlfriends that I've been with. One of their fascinating approaches was holding a periodic fertility festival by the Nile. Fetishizing the fertility of the Nile. The fertility festival. In the festival, crowds of people would gather around the river and wait for the pharaoh. Oh God. They're having an orgy. They're not even having an orgy. They're running train on this river. The Nile got gangbanged. When the pharaoh arrived by the shore, he would get stripped down and begin masturbating. What am I reading? The pharaoh would then ejaculate into the river, making sure that his semen flowed with the current. Is this reality right now? Is this a real thing, Egypt? Can someone who's an Egyptian confirm this? After the pharaoh, other men would then come over and release their seeds as well. They did it. They did it. They gangbanged the river. The entire process was believed to have brought more prosperity and blessings to the people. Plus, it was free entertainment for everybody else. Come on, number 2, 3, 4, and 5 already came in the river. Beat it faster, man. Beat it faster. But what was their basis for mostly masturbating for good luck? Interestingly, isn't that why we all masturbate for good luck? Interestingly enough, it's the same reason why most Christians believe masturbation is wrong. It's because of God. He's watching you masturbate. But your God might actually support it if you're coming into a river. It depends on who you pray to. The myth of creation. In an early version of Egyptian myth, before everything there was a tomb. A tomb was their god of creation. A tomb's solitude in nothingness motivated the deity to create. And with his divine powers, he masturbated the twin gods Shu and Tefnut into existence. Adam is sacrificing a rib to bring Eden into existence, and a tomb over here is sacrificing 2 nuts to bring 2 gods into existence. Now this guy is a badass. I had a union with my hand, and I embraced my shadow in a love embrace. Oh, this guy was in the shadow realm! This duel's happening in the shadow realm. I poured seed into my own mouth? I poured seed in my own mouth. Wow. And I sent forth from myself issue in the form of gods, Shu and Tefnut. Wow, this guy grabbed his own dick and then came in his own mouth, and from that somehow issued 2 new gods into existence. This is a freaky story right here. This guy was freaky. So why isn't this in the history books? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious why this isn't in the history books. Moral values in early historians influenced the omission of this version for a more conservative story. Historians then, and for a while, preferred a version where Atum spat out his siblings into existence. Ah, he spat them out of his mouth instead of his penis. Revisionist history, everybody. Revisionist history. The source of all creation was believed to have come, no pun intended, from Atum's ejaculation. Ancient Egyptians were giving thanks and appeasing the gods by reenacting the story of life. They knew very well of the life-giving properties of semen, and I would surmise use it as a parallel for the life-giving properties of the Nile. So why did the pharaoh masturbate in the river? To get to the other side. Nope! That's not the punchline. The punchline is to keep the waters, life, and prosperity coming. Oh! So that was a joke the whole time. I knew it. It sounded like a riddle. It sounded like a joke, and it was. So why did the pharaoh masturbate into the river? To keep the waters, life, and prosperity coming. Tell that at the next dinner party you're at, and you'll be the life of the party. Again, no pun intended, because semen springs forth life, I guess, in combination with the egg. Regardless, tell it at your dinner party when you're wearing your black tie. You're welcome. That's been today's Thoughtful Thursday. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments. Did you even know that the pharaoh was masturbating into the river? If you didn't, I hope you think about it tonight when you're going to sleep. That's been today's Joe Show. If you like my content, hit that subscribe button and mash that bell to get a notification every time I upload a new video. Until then, I love you.